Warning, this is part 2 of a 2-part video. The previous video covered parts 1 through 5 and every trap that's featured in those movies. So if you haven't already, I would recommend watching that before this one. If you have watched that one, then I love you. As long as you promise to do all the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, and subscribe. And show the video to everyone you know. Except for them. You know who I'm talking about. John Kramer and myself may finally see eye to eye, as his latest target is the executive of an insurance company. These people smile at the thought of not having to give you money that you deserve just because of one little word in the fine print. That can be the difference between being covered and getting absolutely nothing. It's only natural that when trying to get treatment for his cancer, he would run into some of these hurdles. And I gotta say, it's actually really fun to see Jigsaw in a situation as mundane as an insurance claim being rejected. Before Saw X came out, I'd say this might be his most babyface performance yet. He's still a maniac though. Obviously, this will be another game from beyond the grave carried out by the new Jigsaw, Detective Hoffman. Let's see what exciting traps he has in store for us. Two people wake up in a room divided by some metal grates, with a set of scales in the middle. Each of their rooms has a table with a knife and a meat cleaver chained to it. The puppet appears on screen and explains to the audience that these two are predatory money lenders, who always end up taking far more than their clients can afford. Because of this, Jigsaw wants to see which of them can part with the most of their flesh, hence the scales and the weapons. Each of them have devices strapped to their heads which will push these big screws right through their temple, should they find themselves on the losing end of this game. Look, I promise I'm not being mean here, this is literally how the movie presents it, but I love how the guy without hesitation is like, hey, I'm a bit fat, I can get rid of some of this stuff. Like, his shirt is coming off as soon as the puppet's done talking. He had the game plan down immediately. And it's even funnier when the lady tries to do the same, and to her shock and horror, she's in good shape. The old belly trick almost does the job, but at the very last second, the lady lops her arm off, and she manages to survive. Right on cue, the screws on the head contraption go right through the man's skull. A truly disgusting way to start off this movie. The insurance executive, whose name is William, wakes up in his first test. He's been put in a contraption opposite another guy who works as a janitor in his office building. This is, I'm fairly sure, the only kill so far where on the TV it actually shows Jigsaw the man as opposed to Billy the puppet. And I will say, it's a lot less scary when it's just some old guy talking to you. Anyway, he explains with this trap that it's controlled by the victim's breathing. With every breath they take, the vices around their body will get tighter and crush them. It's pretty straightforward. But personally, I think this may be one of Jigsaw's most undeserved traps, and it's all because of the janitor. You wanna know why he's in this trap? The horrible, sinister reason why he was put to the test? He smokes. Look, I'm not a smoker. I don't think smoking's good, and at the end of the day, smoking kills. In fact, smoking killed my friend Lee Idea years ago, and I don't mean that he smoked so much that he got cancer and passed away. I mean a giant cigarette came up and shot him in the head. I miss my friend. But John, what are you on? Smoking is a choice that people can make if they want to. It's going to impact their health, and it could be a real cause for concern for their friends and family. But it is legal, and people can choose to do it. And to be honest, this isn't even my problem with this one. Jigsaw has put people in razor wire mazes just because they were cutting themselves. No, my issue is that this is completely unwinnable for the smoker. Jigsaw knows that the smoker, who we find out has a history of high blood pressure and heart disease, will not last as long as William, who as far as we know, does not smoke. So how was he meant to beat this? And don't tell me that Jigsaw hoped the executive would turn over a new leaf and sacrifice himself for the janitor. Why would he have set up the rest of the game? I feel like he at least wanted him to get past the first test. Isn't John Kramer this amazing genius who understands everyone's nature and can account for any possibility? He knew this guy wouldn't sacrifice himself, meaning he knew that this smoker would not be able to last in the trap, meaning he definitely killed this guy. I watched this one dozens of times just to make sure I wasn't missing something, but Jiggy literally tells them, the only escape is in the other's failure. So someone had to die, and it sure as hell wasn't gonna be the one who isn't a smoker. Oh yeah, and for some reason he pisses himself too. What the hell's going on? William is asked to hold two handles. Nothing evil about that, I'll just grab both of them with no hesitation. Just kidding, they're evil handles! Two people behind a pane of glass are standing on platforms with barbed wire nooses around their necks. The puppet explains that William must choose only one of them to be spared, as the other's platform will fall from beneath them and, well, you know. The woman on the left is William's secretary. She has a family who are going to miss her dearly if she passes. And the guy on the right is just some guy who works at the company who no one really knows and will not really be missed. But the secretary is older and has a history of diabetes, while the random guy is perfectly healthy. So what does the executive do? If he has to go off his company's criteria, he should kill this older, more at-risk secretary and not the healthy young man. But he can't bring himself to do that and sentences the young guy to be choked by a barbed wire noose. Ew! I think this is one of the best traps for the philosophical dilemma it poses, and how it exposes the insurance company's risk-based criteria being a bunch of nonsense. I also think that this is one of the funniest traps because Jigsaw is essentially calling this guy a loser who has no friends. And then he gets killed anyway. Also, William gets jump scared by a flying puppet. So William walks into this steamy room, and there's a floor beneath him where his company's lawyer's been kidnapped and put here for a game. William has to guide her through this steamy maze, helping her at certain points by putting himself in harm's way sometimes. Jigsaw explains that the device the lawyer has around her neck is going to pierce her brain after 90 seconds. William gets her through the maze, and there should be a key that'll unlock the device around her, so he's like, where's the key? Turns out, he ate it. The key is inside William's belly, so the lawyer goes crazy and she comes at him with a buzzsaw. This bit's actually kind of awesome. They have a little fight and she is 100% gonna slice him up, but then the 90 seconds are up and her brain is pierced. She takes an embarrassing dive off the platform as well, just for some extra humiliation. Following the trend of the previous traps, William finds 6 of his employees strapped to a carousel. It will start spinning around, and when it stops, William has to decide if their life is spared or they get blasted in the face with a shotgun. Only 2 of the 4 people can be saved, so naturally there's a whole load of shouting, pleading, and bargaining. Honestly, it is a laugh riot. Obviously, I am aware that it's a bit similar to the shotgun hallway from Saw 1, because the method of dying is a shotgun. But I feel there's enough to make it a distinct entry on the list. The stress of the whole situation, the nausea of the spinning carousel, and the disrespect of not being chosen to survive by your boss? What the hell? Can you possibly imagine being disrespected by your boss? When has anyone ever been treated poorly by their boss? All the Hoffman fans can rejoice because he is all over this movie. With Jigsaw gone, Amanda gone, most of the police force gone, FBI agents dead, it is pretty much the Hoffman show. And he is smoldering all over this movie. I have never seen someone smolder this hard in anything. He is so hot under the collar in this movie because the police force, they're cracking him. He is so close to being caught, and it's just so good to see him clearly stressing on the inside, but on the outside, he's just pouting like it's no one's business. We also get flashbacks to John Kramer, Amanda, and Hoffman all building traps together in the same room. And honestly, I could have sat through way more of this. Hell, I could have watched a whole sitcom about this trio. Anyway, towards the end of the movie, the homicide investigation team, including Hoffman, have managed to get the audio tapes from one of the Jigsaw games, and they've developed this technology that can essentially remove the voice filter and reveal who is really pulling the strings. Hoffman is in the room as this is happening, and he's stressing out so much, but his facial expression is basically the same the whole time. The FBI agent even asks him if he's alright, and Hoffman replies, "I'm just nervous about that tape." And as soon as they've decoded the message and you can hear clearly whose voice it is, bam, Hoffman leaps into action. He stabs the guy next to him. He throws a fresh cup of boiling hot coffee on the FBI lady. He grabs the other officer and uses her as a human shield. He is going fucking nuts in this bitch. And once he's killed everyone in there, he burns the place to the ground. Best scene in the whole movie. The health insurance executive has made it to the end of his game. And hey look, it's Roderick, how you doing, buddy? Anyway, William is in a hallway with 2 cages at either end. One has his sister, and the other has the grieving family of a man who was denied health insurance cover from William's company, and that resulted in his death. In a classic Saw swerve, it turns out that William's final game is not his game at all. Roderick and his mother are able to decide whether William lives or dies. The mum wants to get rid of him, but she resists because she knows it won't fix anything. But Roderick doesn't care. He pulls that lever, and this bizarre collection of needles swings down from the ceiling, stabs William in the back, and it begins injecting him with this acid that melts his insides and causes him to slowly split in half. I think the setup's a bit convoluted for this one. He has to stand on a specific pressure plate for this to even work, but I love the result. You know, it's so messed up, so gross, great ending. While this is all going on, Jill Tuck, Jigsaw's widow, is enacting his final plan to take down Mark Hoffman. She uses like this electrocution device that she plants on the bottom of his chair. It's kind of hilarious. And then she puts on a new and improved reverse bear trap on him. Why would the characters in the Saw universe understand the significance and iconography of the reverse bear trap? Anyway, she puts the trap on Hoffman and leaves the room. She's like, no one's getting out of that thing. But then he gets out of that thing. And we're left with the coldest visual of all the Saw movies. Mark Hoffman's face ripped apart as he screams to the heavens. I've been waiting to talk about this for so long, and the time is finally here. Saw the Final Chapter is one of my favorite bad movies of all time. This movie is pure, unadulterated slop, and I want every last bit of it fed to me in my own disgusting Saw trap. I've actually had to really restrain myself for this section because I know that this will not be the last time I talk about this movie. This film is commonly called Saw the Final Chapter or Saw 7, but its real name, the one that I remember being promoted on buses around town as a youth, was Saw 3D! We are so back, folks. More 3D slop bullshit, sloppy 3D, ugly, half-baked, stupid nonsense bullshit. Saw 3D, Final Destination 3D, Piranha 3D. We used to have real culture. Now we have nothing. Saw 3D begins in the most absurd way that it possibly could, setting the tone for the entire movie. Two teen boys wake up inside of a shop window display, and they're both attached to some sort of triple saw blade contraption. It is then revealed that their girlfriend is suspended above one of the saws. I say their girlfriend because she has been sleeping with both of these guys, and somehow Jigsaw knows this? The puppet is even there in the window with them and explains that the girl has been two-timing, giving the boys the option of killing one another by pushing the saw blades forward, or they can choose to kill the girl by letting her descend onto the saw blade in the middle. They end up doing the latter because this movie hates women, and everyone outside watches as her stomach is sliced open. Her guts fly out in 3D, which looks terrible. This opening scene is incredible. Like, it's so absurd. I remember being a kid and finding this scene on YouTube, and since it was the only saw trap I'd seen at that point, I was so confused. I was thinking like, are they all this ridiculous? Honestly, I wish. As for the kill itself though, this looks excruciatingly painful. I don't know if this will be worse or better than the pendulum trap, but either way your tummy will hurt. This one is quite unique as there is the added humiliation of being outed as a cheater to hundreds of random people before being brutally killed by a large saw blade. There's also the fact that the boys consciously chose to let me die too. One of the absolute best in terms of entertainment value, but truly one of the least preferable ways of dying that I can think of. Jill Tuck, Jigsaw's widow, is having nightmares about Hoffman, and I know what you're thinking. Nightmares? That would be the best dream ever. Okay, to be honest, if he was unleashing a giant drill that's gonna obliterate me instantly, maybe it would be a bit unenjoyable. Like, this drill messes her up, like this is crazy. Anyways, up the Hoffman, up the big drill, up the logs. Chester Bennington from Lincoln Park? What are you doing here? Chester finds himself glued to a car seat inside a garage or something, and is like, what? The puppet tells him that he is in this trap because he's a racist. You know what, that's good enough for me. No convoluted explanation as to why he's here. Jigsaw flat out is just like, you're a racist. So Chester's been glued to the car seat, and he needs to tear himself apart from it in order to grab the handbrake and stop 3 other deaths from happening. One involves a racist underneath the car having having the tire slam onto her head and crush it. Then, when the car starts moving, another racist who is chained to the back of the vehicle by his arms and his jaw will have all of those ripped off of him. And then a third racist who is chained to the door of the garage will get run over by the car. Poor Chester. Besides having his back ripped off, the car drives into another car and he goes flying out the windshield. Oh yeah, and later it fucking explodes. This trap, specifically the back peeling off, is so disgusting, and is easily one of my least favorites to watch. But I can't lie, it is sort of awesome. Chester's screaming, and all the loud music playing, just makes it sound like a really messed up Linkin Park song. Also, yes, I am gonna count all 4 of these deaths as separate entries. This one got a big laugh out of me. This asshole is the protagonist of Saw 3D, and he claims to be a survivor of a saw trap and has built a whole brand off of this traumatic experience. In reality, he's just a grifter who's never even got put in a saw trap and is just conning people. As part of his con, he's set up a Jigsaw victim support group where the survivors can talk about their experiences. Hey look, it's the lady from the last one who lopped her arm off. Anyways, one of the people is asked to explain the Jigsaw trap that they survived, and I promise you, it is the most ridiculous situation you could possibly imagine. 2 people are suspended above an army of upside-down lawnmowers that are all switched on, and the goal is to knock the other person from the spiked pole they're hanging onto and send them to their doom. This is insanity. You know, maybe it's not my place to say, but I personally do not believe that John Kramer would build this. I just don't buy it. You get no context for how this was set up. You barely get any explanation as to what they're meant to do or why they're even in that trap. And overall, it just looks silly. Because it's a short flashback, it all goes by so fast you can barely process what even happened. It's things like this that make me love this movie. Anyway, falling into a lawnmower. No, thank you. I'll stick to my book. In a flashback, the grifter is at a book signing and a fan comes over to meet him. Hang on a second, is that John Kramer? I barely recognized him with that incredible disguise. This scene is probably the most iconic thing about this movie. Not any of the new traps, not any new characters, just this goddamn outfit. Cinema. The grifter wakes up in a little cage, and Jigsaw tells him he's got to finally go through a saw trap for real after all of his lies. The grifter's cage is raised above a sheet of spikes, and once the floor of the cage falls out, he must hang for dear life. I guess if he'd failed, he'd just fall onto those spikes from a short distance. I'm not even convinced this would kill him. This might win the award for the lamest saw trap I've ever seen. It's barely even a trap, it's more like a minor inconvenience. The grifter starts walking around and he finds his publicist in this device with 4 big needles placed around her neck and a string going inside her mouth. Jigsaw has once again put a key inside somebody. He needs to get a new bit, like I'm really getting tired of this. Hoffman should have shot that one down and been like, hey, look, you've done that one a few times, it's probably not going to have the same shock value that you think it will. Anyway, the key is attached to a fishhook that the grifter is going to have to fish out of her. This would be a situation where you would understandably want to scream a lot, but they basically have to do this in silence because if the decibel meter reaches higher than a whisper, the needles are going to go towards her throat. This one is just incredibly cruel. Like, the fishhook is going to cut up your insides anyway while you're getting it out, even if you do manage to retrieve it. This is definitely one of the worst that I can think of. So the grifter finds another member of his team strapped into some big wheel, which is then going to rotate very slowly into 3 spikes which will impale her eyes and mouth. To avoid this, the grifter needs to hold up this thing. It's just like a weight. He needs to hold it up for a certain amount of time, and if he does, then the wheel's going to stop turning. If he doesn't, then it's going to keep going. He fails to do this and the poles go right through her face in a very horrific, bloody fashion. One of the slowest, most agonizing waits for any trap to be over, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that this could be painful. The grifter stumbles upon a room where most of the floor is missing. On the other end of the room is his best friend who's blindfolded and appears to be tied to the ceiling. What the grifter now has to do is guide his friend through the perilous room, make sure he doesn't fall through one of the gaps, and give him a key so he can free himself. It sort of goes okay, but then the grifter has to actually throw the key to him, and you know. But this isn't just any key, it's a 3D key! I know I've been saying this a lot, but this is one of the lamest saw traps I've ever seen. I find it boring to watch, and even the concept just to be a bit stupid. Feels too much like a game show. Feels like something they make you do on Raven. Aside from the murder part. The grifter gets to his final challenge and finds his wife chained to a platform. Essentially, the grifter has to take part in the trap that he's actually been lying about in his book. He has to put 2 hooks in his chest so he can pull himself up to a power coupling, which he'll then join together to set himself free. Should he fail, which he does, his wife is sealed shut in a giant metal capsule and is burned alive. I was thankful that in Saw 2, the guy who got trapped in the furnace only had his lower half burnt. Unfortunately, in Saw 3D, this lady is not given that luxury. This looks terrible. Hoffman fans are eating good this movie. After going off the deep end last movie, he is on the run, and he's also on the hunt for Jill Tuck, who tried to kill him in that last movie. Jill is under police protection and eventually is taken to the station, as nowhere else is safe from Hoffman. But Hoffman, in one of the most comedic moments of the whole series, stows away inside of a body bag that's going to the station. And when he arrives at the morgue, the mortician, well, let me just show you the unedited scene.
Let's see what we have here.
Hoffman goes full Michael Myers. He is killing everyone in this station. And once he gets to Jigsaw's widow, he beats her up and puts her in the classic reverse bear trap, version 1. And we finally get to see just how brutal that trap is. Her teeth fly out of her face. In 3D. Okay, I've kept my mouth shut about this for long enough, but I can't do this anymore. The movie ends in the most absurd way it possibly could, with Dr. Lawrence Gordon from the first movie being revealed as Jigsaw's secret apprentice. Yes, so Dr. Lawrence Gordon from the first movie escaped the bathroom, Jigsaw nursed him back to health after he won his game, and then Gordon became his apprentice, aiding him in multiple traps. Look, there he is sewing the guy's eyes shut for the intro to Saw 4. So when Hoffman goes full Michael and kills everybody, including Jigsaw's wife, Lawrence Gordon, under specific order from Jigsaw himself via videotape, takes out Hoffman and seals his fate. Where does he sentence him to death? The bathroom from the first movie. Did you think that the Final Destination logs were an overused callback? You have no idea. I didn't even mention it previously, but the Saw 1 bathroom reappears in the climax of Saw 2, a flashback in Saw 3, appears once again in Saw 5, and now it's the final trap for the final chapter. And spoiler warning, this will not be the last time! This bathroom is basically the protagonist of the franchise at this point, but to be honest, I don't know what gets on my nerves more. The overuse of the Saw 1 bathroom, or the overuse of the Final Destination 2 logs? Representing Final Destination, by God, it's Log! The fans just can't get enough of Logs. And his opponent is it's the Saw 1 bathroom! And it's for the Overused Callback Championship. A prestigious title if there ever was one. And there's the casket being wheeled to the ring by the refs. Oh, look at Logs taking it to the Saw bathroom. I think he's looking to end this one early. Look, he's already got the Saw bathroom into the casket. Oh, but the Saw bathroom fights back, whacking his head on the I imagine a wooden casket. Oh, look, he's fighting in the Saw bathroom. He's trying. Oh my God. God, just digging in. The fans love it, though. The fans absolutely love it. Oh, shit. This is more even than I thought it would be. I thought Logs would dominate this, to be honest. A little showboating from the Saw bathroom. Getting a bit... Whoa! Oh, my fucking God! Shit. His whole ass head closed the door. Throwing him in. Yes! Go on, Logs. Come on! Yes, shut the door! Shut the door on him! Oh my God, Saw bathroom is just not gonna quit. The stunner! Oh my God! Go on, Logs. Whoa! Spear! Oh my God, a spear!
No, you can't be serious. Not like this. Not like this. No. No. You can't do this to me. Oh, thank God. Stunner. Another stunner. I think Logs is bleeding. I don't even know how that is, how that's even possible, but steel chair. Surely the steel chair will put an end to this match. Oh my God, what the fuck was that? Come on, Logs. Throw him in. Look at Logs, he's taken so much punishment. Shut the door. Finish the story. Go on, Logs. Come on, you can do it. Oh my God. Yes. The Saw bathroom can be put to rest forever. No more Saw bathroom. Greatest of all time. Hey, who am I to argue? That was a classic.
I'm a bit sad now because I don't get to talk about Saw 3D anymore. And notice how I've stopped calling it Saw the Final Chapter, because it isn't the final movie. 7 years later, the Saw series made a comeback with Jigsaw. I remember seeing this one advertised back in the day and being so confused. Was this a reboot? A sequel? A prequel? Hell, a midquel? All I knew for certain was that I did not think I would like this. It's good to know that all these years later, I was right. 5 people wake up in a room with buckets on their heads. Each of them have a chain tied to their neck, and once the game starts, they're going to be forcibly pulled towards a wall of spinning saw blades. The way to win is actually super easy, comparatively. You just have to go towards the blades, cut yourself a bit, and then you can take your bucket off. Yeah, I mean, this would be pretty bad, let's not kid ourselves, but it's nothing I haven't seen before. It's like a combination of the head lopper and the blood donation traps from Saw 5. Does this mean the evil bath could make a comeback too? Well, given how everything's woke now, I doubt it. The Mario Party characters go to the next room, still chained up by the neck, and they're met with the puppet. I will be honest, I do not like how he looks in this movie. He looks way too clean, like they got him from a replica toy website. The previous ones did look really handmade, like I could feel Jigsaw's delicate brushstrokes on his face. Anyway, the players' chains are being slowly pulled upwards, and eventually they're going to be hung from the ceilings. One of the contestants has been injected with a poison because she stole an asthmatic lady's purse, and that lady died. Because of this, they're given 3 needles, one with the antidote, one with a saline solution, and one with acid. The purse snatcher must take the ultimate risk by using one of the needles in order to set everyone else free. But understandably, she's a bit scared of, injecting herself with acid. But once the chains start pulling them off the ground, this one guy just stabs all 3 of them into her, and it lets them go. Long story short, she perishes. I don't know, it's just, after seeing that final trap in Saw 6, this one feels like a very restrained version of that. For kids. So this one guy gets his leg caught in a wire trap and he is stuck, so the other 2 just start exploring, and they find this door which leads into a giant grain silo. They grab a remote hanging from the ceiling, but this causes the door to slam shut. And to their absolute horror, the grain silo starts filling up with grain! I was actually kind of intrigued by this one. I was like, grain? Killed by grain? That would go down in history as the most bizarre way to die in any of these videos. But then I was a bit disappointed when the grain stopped pouring and sharp objects just started falling from the ceiling. Feels like they really wanted to do that grain bit, but they realized that the death itself isn't actually that violent or horrifying, so they were just like, get some saw blades, get some knives, just chuck them down the top. Like, come on, any situation is going to be scary if you start dropping sharp objects from the ceiling. Just ask my grandma. That day will always be remembered as the worst 72nd birthday party ever. Well, I guess I can't complain anymore about unoriginal trap ideas, because what the hell is this? Jigsaw has created a giant cone-like structure, which someone has to be lowered down into in order to grab a handbrake and be free from the rope that's got a hold of him. Unfortunately, as he's being lowered into the cone, a motorbike turns on and the spiral-like pattern on the inside of it starts spinning incredibly fast. This is a very sharp spiral, and though he tries his best, this guy gets shredded to pieces. The reason for all the motorbike stuff is because this guy sold someone a faulty motorbike and he almost immediately crashed it and died. Who was the guy who died in the bike crash? John Kramer's nephew.
How awkward.
Imagine if Jigsaw was your uncle. You go to the family gatherings and your dad's like,
Right, your Uncle John's not here, he's at home building giant death cone.
anyways, it's a bit goofy, but I'll give it praise for originality and brutality. That's like a shotgun thing with the last two people. Jigsaw's back or whatever, he's bald now. I've already had too many gun deaths on this, I don't even care about this one being left out. So there's been a whole plot during this movie about this guy called Logan, who we think is the protagonist. He's investigating Jigsaw and the possibility of him being back from the dead. Of course, the police are on the case with this too. Eventually, Logan and the police chief find themselves in a trap together. This trap is a collar that goes around their necks and it has super strong lasers attached to it. The lasers will eventually meet in the middle of the collar and slice the victim's head to make a beautiful fleshy flower out of their dome. This trap isn't stupid, okay? It's perfectly fine. You know, a bit too futuristic to feel like a traditional sword trap, but whatever. It's everything else that happens around the trap that's stupid. Logan turns out to have been evil this whole time, and 10 years ago was in the original game that Jigsaw made, which is the one that we've been watching for most of the movie. So yeah, if you think Saw's got too many flashbacks, here's half a movie's worth of flashbacks for you. Anyway, John Kramer saved Logan from that game because he was gonna die in an unfair manner, and then Logan became Jigsaw's secret apprentice. Why the fuck would he not have contacted him during the events of Saw 1 through 7? He seems to be pretty good at making these traps. He made a goddamn laser necklace that cuts your head open. They even imply that Logan actually has had so much influence on John Kramer that he partially shaped his whole philosophy for the games. I really don't want to turn this into a full-blown review, but this is retroactive continuity that I think actively harms the character of Jigsaw, the plot of the entire series, and honestly, even though the whole reason I love this series is its insistence on keeping continuity and never rebooting, I honestly would not be sad if this whole movie was decanonized one day. And they say that the game we've been witnessing in the movie was the original game, like the first one. Huh? You're telling me Jigsaw started with the giant spiral thing? That was one of his first ideas. In Saw 1, even the more complex contraptions like the reverse bear trap still feel very makeshift and like something an engineer gone crazy would make in his dirty little lair. This looks like an amusement park ride in comparison. Spiral from the Book of Saw? What the hell is the Book of Saw? But really, this film is perhaps the most unique of the bunch. Uniquely boring? Nah, to be honest, it really isn't that bad, it's just a bit dull. The film features Chris Rock as a hotshot police detective who just won't take no for an answer, and is investigating yet another Jigsaw comeback. The focus is almost solely on the police for this movie, and for that reason, the traps feel like a bit more of an afterthought. But just because they're an afterthought doesn't mean they aren't disgusting. A homicide detective is knocked out and awakens to find himself standing on a stepladder above some train tracks, with his tongue trapped in a metal vise. We've all been there. Essentially, he's got to rip himself from his tongue and get down before a train will come by and run him over. He actually does knock over the ladder and rids himself of his tongue, but like half a second later the train hits him, so it was all for nothing. Pretty sure there was no way he would have survived this regardless. I mean, the shock alone would kill you. Anyway, I hate anything to do with tongues, so this is easily one of the most disgusting traps I have seen in one of these movies. Holy shit, I take it all back. A police officer wakes up in an evil bath with this mask over his head and a bunch of, well, they look like Chinese finger traps on all of his fingers. He's told that once the water level in the bath reaches the copper wire, he's going to be electrocuted, unless he can free his fingers from the traps. When he bites down on the mask, the mechanism will rip his fingers off, so if he doesn't bite, nothing's going to happen. You know, just this once, I'm going to introduce a rare substitution. I'm going to sub out the bath kill from Saw 5 in favor of this bath kill. One, because this is far more brutal and thus more interesting to speculate on, and also because she doesn't even technically get killed by the bath in that one. This version will be a lot more interesting and a lot more horrific. So we get a flashback to Chris Rock when he was a younger rookie cop, and of course the only way that these filmmakers know how to make someone appear younger is to give them a backwards baseball cap. And I must say, the effects are fantastic. You could have told me he was 18 in this shot, and I would believe you. I've got to try this.
Oh no! What's happening?
So Chris Rock's police captain finds herself strapped to a table with a sheet over her face, underneath a big tap. The Jigsaw imitator explains that she has to sever her spine using a small blade underneath her neck, otherwise hot wax is gonna pour all over her face and suffocate her. Pretty horrible way to go. My question is, how are you supposed to win this? I find it very hard to believe you'd be able to put enough pressure on the blade in order to sever your spine, and even if you do that, how would Jigsaw even be able to tell that you've done the deed? Has he got a little camera underneath the table? Is the blade somehow pressure sensitive? I don't buy that for a second. How would the wax stop pouring? How did Jigsaw even set this up without anyone noticing? It takes place within the basement of the police station. I usually don't pick apart the logic with stuff like this because these are fun movies that you shouldn't think too much about, but it gets to a point, you know? Doesn't help that Spiral feels a lot less wacky than some of the previous ones. John Kramer would be ashamed. Chris Rock finds an ex-police officer who's hung by his hands with some chains. In front of him is a chute connected to a glass grinder. It's a good thing there's no glass around here. Wait, no, not bottles! As the glass grinder turns on, bottles come flying out of the chute and start cutting up this man. Chris Rock has to find a key to unlock him, but it's no use. He's a goner before he can even think about saving him. If there's one thing this movie teaches us, it's that saw traps are a lot less entertaining when the chance of surviving is basically zero. It really is just torture at this point. So as you can tell, I didn't really think too much of this movie, but the ending was 10 out of 10 for me. Chris Rock figures out that the Jigsaw copycat is his new partner that he's been working with for the whole movie, and the final trap he's made is a personal one. Samuel L. Jackson, who is playing Chris Rock's father, is connected to IV drips that are draining his blood, and Chris Rock needs to use his last bullet to shoot a target so that he can be freed. He almost shoots the Jigsaw copycat, but Chris Rock, he loves his dad really, and he frees him from the trap. But when he goes to fight his former partner as he escapes, the SWAT team arrives in the building as they were called in earlier by the copycat, and they run up the stairs, burst into the room, and by knocking the door, they set off another mechanism that causes Sam Jackson to be lifted up once again, this time with his arms raised and what looks like a gun attached to his right hand. These big floodlights come on to obscure his image and make it hard to see that he's literally being puppeteered. So the SWAT team just fucking let loose on him. Like, not a second passes between them noticing he's got a gun and them unloading all their ammo on this poor guy. This is like one of the most brutal things I've ever seen. I actually didn't bother to mention the machine gun trap from Saw 3D because they literally just get shot by a machine gun. I don't really like including deaths where it's just like, you know, they got stabbed or they got shot. It just doesn't sit right with me. But this is a whole different situation. So stupid, so cruel, puppets mentioned, it's perfect. Saw X. We go back in time before the events of the second movie, and the time has come for John Kramer himself to be the top babyface. Now, the character of John Kramer hasn't really changed fundamentally, but we see things directly from his perspective now, so it makes it much easier to support the guy here. Also, he's old as shit. Respect to Tobin Bell for still doing this. Like, it's clearly an 80-year-old guy playing a 50-year-old guy, but you don't even care, he's just so good. We start with another dream trap on this one, as Jigsaw imagines what it would be like to test a thief that he sees at the hospital. He imagines a machine that sees the victim strapped to a chair with one of his hands in a finger-snapping contraption and the other hand free to turn a dial. When he turns this dial, it's going to snap each one of his fingers, and if he doesn't free himself from the trap, then his eyeballs are going to be sucked out by these giant tubes. A real John Kramer trap. No unwinnable circumstances, memorable design. My god, you have done it, you sick freak. That being said though, I don't want my eyeballs sucked out of my head. How am I gonna watch cartoons? This was one of my favorite scenes in the movie, because you get to see how John Kramer's brain works in his day-to-day life. To no one's surprise, he is a maniac. The whole plot of the movie is that John Kramer sees a guy from his cancer support group who looks pretty okay, and John's like, "Where's your cancer gone?" And the guy's like, I paid these people to get rid of it. And John calls up these people and they're like, "We'll get rid of your cancer." And John Kramer's like, "Hooray." He has to go all the way to Mexico for this treatment, and it's already looking a bit sketchy, but you know, John just wants to get his treatment. He gets acquainted with the people there, and he's feeling pretty optimistic. He wakes up one day and they're all like, "Hey, we did it. You're gonna be alright, buddy." John Kramer's like, "Yippee." But then he finds out not only has everyone left the facility and abandoned it, they did not even treat his cancer, revealing it all to be an elaborate scam. He was duped, roost, bamboozled. Naturally, John Kramer makes it his mission to test everyone involved, and this time it's personal. The first victim is the taxi driver who took him to the facility. Jigsaw ties pipe bombs to his arms with galvanized steel and tapes up his hands so he only has the use of 2 little blades in order to cut the bombs from his arms before they freaking explode in 3 minutes. Horrible, awful trap, but to be fair, he actually does make it out of there in time, and Jigsaw's like, "Good on you, pal." Jigsaw tracks down all of the scam artists and he sets up new traps for each of them, with the help of a returning Amanda. Note, do not mention the haircut, no matter how much you want to. The first trap tasks one of the scammers with sawing off their own leg in order to provide 3 ounces worth of bone marrow. If she does not do this in 3 minutes, her head's going to be lopped off by a wire that's in front of her neck, which ultimately does end up happening. You know, we've seen decapitation before, but the setup is different enough, so I'll allow it for the rankings. Fuck no. One of the scammers is put in a trap where he has to do brain surgery on himself in order to remove a sample of his cerebral tissue. If he doesn't do this in 3 minutes, a mask with heated coils will slam shut and burn his face to a crisp. I want nothing to do with this. The Saw movies have gone on long enough that I can finally say the newest movie features a trap that is literally just a big death ray. Yep, a giant death ray. Personally, I could not be happier. One of the scammers is tied up in the air in front of a radiation therapy machine, and she has to use a sledgehammer to free her wrist and ankle from her shackles. Otherwise, the machine will burn her with radiation. As awesome as being killed by a big death ray sounds in theory, this would really sting. In a moment that otherwise should be cathartic, but in execution is tragic, Jigsaw finally gets a taste of his own medicine. He's forced into his own machine by the scammers, and not just him, but a child as well. This was a kid that Jigsaw actually had a sweet little friendship with at the start of the movie before he got scammed. Now that is how you turn a long-term heel into a babyface. Put a kid in the trap. This form of torture sees the 2 strapped to a board, and when it begins, a huge stream of blood will shoot out onto your face, essentially waterboarding you with blood. You're able to pull a lever to tilt the opposite side of the board upwards, sparing the other person from being bloodboarded. It makes me genuinely sad to see Jigsaw's face when they get the kid involved, and overall, this scene is one of my favorites in the whole series. But it was all a big trick. Jigsaw planned for this hostile takeover from the beginning, and when the evil scammers try and take their money and run, it activates the final trap. The room they're in locks shut and starts filling with poisonous gas. This poisonous gas is gonna rip your skin apart if you're not careful, and Jigsaw has kindly left a tiny hole for the contestants to poke their head out of. The 2 fight one another for airtime as Jigsaw, Amanda, and the young boy Carlos walk into the sunset. But there is one last trap. Jigsaw tracks down the liar who got him into this whole treatment scam in the first place with the help of none other than motherfucking Mark Hoffman. I did backflips when this shit happened. Mark Hoffman in 2023. Look at that pout. Anyway, we don't really get to see what this trap does because it gets cut off by the end credits, so we sort of just have to assume. It essentially looks like a disembowelment machine and it's gonna claw out his insides. Not fun.
Good morning. I've pretty much just woken up. I've got a clear head, and I think we're going to be able to do this really easily. Let me just preface that anything that is in the absolutely not tier, I am not ranking. That is because when I say absolutely not, I mean there is literally 0 chance that I would do this, or that I would ever be okay with being put into that situation. I don't care what I said at the start of the video. We'd be here all day. What I care about is figuring out everything above that. and finding the most preferable. Because it's not about the least preferable. Look at the title of fucking video. It's the most preferable, not the worst. That can be a different video. Go somewhere else. But don't. Stay. So starting with the bathroom. As I said, it's long, it's arduous, it's going to be very boring, and you're going to die in a very slow way. That being said, there's the opportunity to have some sort of freaky vision. You know, there's ample opportunity to escape, but I'm not going to acknowledge that. But yeah, bathroom, I mean, starvation, dehydration, however you're going, is going to be long. You know, I've come to terms with the fact that there's no real suffering. You know, there's not like you're not getting stabbed with anything. You're not getting attacked, unless you're Adam in the third movie. If I'm honest, I've sort of soured on the bathroom, so I'm going to put that in different for now. What hasn't already been said about the shotgun hallway? It's just immediate, shot from above. You barely even know it's coming, so let's get that in preferable. Flammable jelly. Really wouldn't like that one. I don't think it's one of the worst though. It really does depend how quick it takes for him to burn. I would definitely mind though. The drill chair, I've sort of said this is a lame way to go. I wouldn't say it's absolutely not though. I'd say I would mind it. Razor wire maze is the first one that I'm definitely putting in absolutely not. I think that's just like a very unique form of torture, and just really unpleasant and evil. Oh. Reverse bear trap, of course we're not. Why would anyone? Yeah, reverse bear trap is a very easy one to say no to. You know, especially when you see it in the final chapter, she gets ripped open. I know it's immediate, don't get me wrong, I know that the shock would probably kill you immediately, but just the thought of that happening, the stress is, I don't want any of that. Moving on to Saw 2, we got the death mask. I was actually pretty positive about this when I ranked it initially, because the way I'm looking at it is it sort of pierces your brain and you're just done, but there is a chance that won't happen. I'm going to put that in wood mind, just because it's incredibly brutal. Magnum eye hole. Yeah, I mean, it's easily one of the most preferable ways to go. There's no denying that. Razor box, hate it. Still really hate it. Like, it just makes me uncomfortable even thinking about it. Nerve guest house, I mean, I wouldn't mind. It's like 2 hours. I mean, come on. It's not that bad. You don't have to like go through anything unless you play in the games, in which case like it's gonna be a bit stressful. But honestly, I think it's fine. I can't really complain. If that is explicitly the way I'm going, just like passing out due to the gas, that's fine by me. The furnace, obviously his lower half is the only thing that burns. Regardless, no one wants to burn, so furnace goes in absolutely not. And just because of that, I'm going to put flammable jelly in there too, because I don't know who I'm kidding. Shotgun collar, that is, you know, there's a stress of doing the brain surgery, which obviously I'm not equipped for, but there's also just general anxiety around the whole situation, but ultimately once I go, I'm just shot in the face. For the way it's going, it wouldn't mind. I don't think that's when you've got the shotgun hallway and the Magnum eye hole, when you got those, I mean, that's the shotgun collar isn't really preferable, but I still wouldn't mind. I'm not that out of touch. I don't think it's an easy way to go. Angel trap, fuck no. Freezer room, once again, no, you could not. There's no good way of doing that one. Freezer room, I think, is one of the underrated worst. Like, it just seems so bad. Which I can't say for the pig vat. You know, this is, I'm gonna put it in wood mind, because obviously no one wants to be in that situation. But let's be real. When are you ever gonna experience that in your day-to-day life? You know, if you're going out, if you're gonna perish, wouldn't you want to do something that you could say that you've never done before and that no one else is gonna do either? I think drowning in pig guts, as disgusting as that is a unique experience. If Jigsaw came up to me and was like, what do you want? Do you want to be burned or do you want the pig fat? I would be fucking immediately, I'd be like, oh yeah, pig fat any day. Like, give it to me now. Like, yeah. The hooks in the classroom is so bad. I think that is one of the worst. The twister. Yeah. What can you say about the twister that's not already been said? It's just horrific. If it was just your head, that would be bad enough, but it's your arms as well. It's just on all fronts terrible. Spike trap. This is when they take it out of the They're taking it out. They're taking it out of there. That's an indifferent one to me. I really don't know. It wouldn't be the quickest, but it wouldn't be the worst. It's not like you're being... It's slower, but it's less painful. This really is an indifferent one. I really don't feel... The knife chair obviously doesn't actually die by the knife chair. He dies by falling in a razor box. I found this one really difficult to categorize and put in an appropriate tier because it's so strange. I totally would mind though. I don't want my face cut open. Even if I do die just falling into a razor box, and that's bad enough. Get in touch with reality, people. Exploding puppet, I wouldn't mind, but it's not preferable. I would love to say that I was killed by a puppet, but it's a lot of fragments in your face. No. Scalping seat, no. Couldn't. No, in no situation. Chain, you sort of just get choked, and yeah, I don't want that, and I don't want my eyes shut, like sewed shut. So no. Bedroom trap, nope, no. Spine cut, no one wants that done to them. Okay, Saw 5, water cube, no, we don't want to drown. Oh, the ice blocks from Saw 4, yeah, that's definitely that's preferable. Get that in there. I don't know why I didn't put that in last time. That's definitely preferable. I mean, I don't even have to. There's no stress. I mean, I know like it's a bit of a stressful situation beforehand, but like, who cares? It's definitely one of the least preferable out of the preferable. But like, come on. Squash room. No one wants to be squashed. Indifferent. I don't really feel... I wouldn't say I wouldn't mind. I don't really want my head chopped off, but don't really feel too strongly about it. Blood donation. It'll take a lot of that to, like, the cutting to actually die. Indifferent to that too, really. Pendulum. Nope. Let's be real. Exploding room. It's easy. Electric bathtub. No one wants to be electrocuted in a bathtub. Oh wait, we're subbing that one out. We don't even need to worry about it. Moving on to Saw 6, the new ones post Saw 5. Breathing trap. So what? I get crushed by the things. I wouldn't mind, but it's not like the worst. Steam maze. Oh, that just means I get done by the thing, don't I? I get that. Indifferent. I really have no opinion. Actually, it's pretty instantaneous, isn't it? So, and Steam maze isn't like that bad. I say I wouldn't mind. Acid spikes is a big no. In no situation is that preferable. Pounds of flesh. You get like the screws through your head. No one wants that. The gallows is when they're hung by the barbed wire chain. I would mind. Shotgun carousel, interesting, because it's just being shot in the face, but there's the added, the nausea, of the spinning, will he choose me or will he not, like, ugh. And for that reason, I am going to put it in wouldn't mind, but not in preferable, because there's way more preferable ways to go there are just better ways to go than that. I got some comments saying that would be preferable, and like that's easily the easiest way to go, but like compare that with the hallway, it's like they're basically the same kill except one is immediate and you had no idea, and the other is stressful and long and it might make you sick, you might throw up. No one wants that. Shop window trap, no. Jaws and arms ripped off by car, no, once again. Crushed by tire, we are 3-3 in terms of terrible traps. Falling from cage though, I mean, I've no opinion. Would that kill him? Like that's what I want to know. Would that even kill him? Because it's such a small height, And it's such a pathetic like array of spikes. I'm not even sure it'll kill him. I think he'd just fall on and go like he'd just be like he'd be like, you know, really hurt, but killed. I don't know. I need to call in the Mythbusters for that one. Impaler Wheel is like the most easy to say no to. It's like, I'm good. I don't need to have my mouth and eyes impaled in a big wheel. I don't need that. I'll pass. The blindfold hanging, I guess I would mind. There's worse ways to go, let's be honest. Giant drill. Now I should say it's more like a giant spike. I don't think since it's not like spinning, I don't think it's really a drill. I just like saying giant drill because I think it's funnier than saying like giant spike. Either way though, it obliterates her. Like it totally, like within a second she is like, it is not as torturous as you may think. And for that reason I am going to put in preferable. You can contest that if you want. I don't care. I'd love to hear why you don't think that's preferable. I would love to hear it. Please tell me. Brazen Bull burned alive? No. Oh, and the needles to the... God, that movie has some really bad ways to go. Also, it's just a bad movie. Oh, and who could forget the Lawnmowers of Doom? The most stupid way that you could ever go. And let's not kid ourselves, that would be terrible too. What are we saying about being run over by a car? Nope. Actually, of the ways to go in that scene, I think that's probably the best one. Yeah, I would mind, but not that much. Bucket room. This has got to be. I mean, that's got to be the easiest trap in any Saw movie, or at least one of them. Because how the hell do you even like? I mean, how the hell does it even work? How does it just like turn off when you've given blood? I guess Jigsaw might have a camera and he might be manually operating the thing. If not, I don't know how that one works. And how do you even lose? Like, as soon as you spill blood, surely it just... Maybe I'm missing something, but it just seems really easy to beat. I'm largely indifferent to it. The motorbike, not indifferent to that one. I don't want to be cut up into kebab meat. The injection, like the acid, ultimately don't want that. I think that's an absolutely not too. I know it's like sort of it can be easily forgotten, but it's no. Grain silo of doom! You're just gonna be killed by a falling knife or something. It'd be pretty fun to be in all that grain. Like, it'll be pretty enjoyable. I'm indifferent. Oh, I forgot the glue to the car seat, the Chester kill. Yeah, we don't want that. Anyway, though, laser collar, I actually thought this one was pretty terrible, but then I rewatched it and I was just like, that is one of the easiest, most straightforward, most quick ways that you could possibly go in Saw. Like, it literally, the laser would immediately hit your brain, cut it open, and I mean, what then? Like, so this may come as a shock to you, but this is going in preferable. It's so immediate. Like, rewatch it, and I promise you, it's so quick that you wouldn't even notice. I mean, maybe there's a bit of stress there, but personally, I wouldn't mind. Something I cannot say for the tongue trap. That is one of the worst I've ever seen. Same once again for the hot wax trap. I don't get how you can even escape that. Terrible. And the finger trap. God, all those ones from Spiral are terrible. Glass grinder as well. No way I'm doing that. Now the human puppet I have been a bit conflicted on. I love puppets. I love the thought of being turned into a puppet. But I am being gunned down by a SWAT team. So ultimately I have to try and be as reasonable as possible with myself and try and not let my biases influence us too much. I don't want to be gunned down by a SWAT team, so I'm going to put it in wood mind. I'm not going to let my puppet desires take over. Disembowelment, we don't want that. Brain surgery, no way. Big death ray, no. Cut your leg off. I know it's similar to headlopper, but trying to keep this as similar to the movies as possible. If I cut my whole leg off and then my head gets cut off, that's embarrassing. Bloodboarding is probably one of the only ones in that movie that I'd say isn't like one of the worst. I mean, it's obviously horrific and terrible, but when you look at what it's going up against, I'd say it's preferable eye vacuum. I mean, definitely one of the easiest to win. Like, you just go, and then then your hand's done. But, like, at least you're not getting your eyes sucked out of your head, which I do not want. Poison gas. Yeah, it's long, torturous, you don't want it. And it's different to the nerve gas, because Jigsaw's like, he says, like, this gas will rip your skin open and shit. He goes into a lot more detail about how bad it's going to be. So for that, I am going to put it in absolutely not. That's the list. Let's see if we can tighten up the top of this list and get a definitive most preferable. Gonna just move the spine cutter up a bit. Death mask I'm gonna move down. Just 'cause I worry it's gonna be painful. Pigvac can move up because hey, who can say they've ever been drowned in pig guts? Razor box, hate it more than that breathing trap, I'll be honest. And the chain is being choked, it's not anything too bad. Probably put that at the top. Okay, I feel okay about Woodmind. Indifferent, once again, it's indifferent, so it's hard to rank them. Grain Silo would definitely be the most fun. Until obviously things start falling from the sky. But Spike Trap is probably the most preferable of all of these. Headlopper, yep. Yeah, all these ones just suck. I think the Blood Donation is probably the worst though. Steam Maze. I'd take that over the Exploding Puppet. And probably the Nerve Gas House. Shotgun Carousel. You know, actually, the Wouldn't Mind I'm fine with, because Shotgun Collar is definitely better than the Shotgun Carousel. And we get to the preferable tier. These are the most preferable ways to go. Honestly, I think Laser Collar is more preferable than the Giant Drill. Or the Giant Spike, as we've established. The Exploding Room is probably the worst of that, because I'm pretty sure it's the Nail Bombs, which would be excruciatingly painful, but very quick. Can I really say that Laser Collar is better than the Ice Blocks? If I'm keeping it similar to the movies, then Eric Matthews, Donnie Wahlberg, he suffers a lot more than that police officer in the Laser Collar, so I'm just going to say no. Magnum Eye Hole I do sort of not like the thought of it going in my eye, that's the main thing. And to be honest, the Shotgun Hallway, I'm going to take that down too. Laser Collar or the Ice Blocks? I didn't expect this when I first watched it, but I genuinely think the Laser Collar is probably the most preferable one. So yeah, I'm actually happy with this list. Let me just have a little look through. There you go, that's the full list. I actually feel pretty good about that. I'm actually very happy with this. You know, like I said, absolutely not. There's no way to rank that. We would literally be here all day. But as for the preferable, you know, that I'm pretty satisfied with that. So, thank you for watching. You know, thank you if you've made it this far. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Really appreciate all the comments. Really appreciate all the response on the previous one. The Saw fan base is just like ravenous when it comes to just, you know, discussing the series. I'm glad to sort of add to that, and all the comments were really great.
And specific shout out to the multiple people who had to advise me that Strom does not put a hole in his chest, he gives himself a tracheostomy. Like, it's so obvious that he doesn't pierce his chest. I don't know how I made that blunder. Anyway, add that one to the list, and hopefully we'll never see it again.
Yeah, take care of yourselves, and do all the YouTube stuff, and don't get killed.